the March 16th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting. For all those who can, please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So moving through the agenda at this time, we'll open the floor to public comment. Again, for those who have signed in, Shirley, do you have the sign-in sheet?
Yeah.
For those who have signed in, please step to the podium, state your name. Please limit your comment to 5 minutes, stay on point. And again, this session is for taxpayers and residents only.
If I could add, just don't pound on the podium with the microphone, please.
Okay. Speaker's gas. I only have actually two questions. First question is, back in last quarter, we put in for two rates, both $500,000 each. I just want an update as to where they're at, because I know that they're starting to hand them out in Harrisburg.
So here's my understanding with grants, and I met with, I'll relate this to the Parks Board. They're telling me that grants today will take, by the time you submit them, the time they get approved, 1 year.
Whoa.
Yes. And the time you get the money, another 90 to 180 days, a year and a half. So Tom, I know you were involved in this grant process.
Correct.
I'll defer to you.
Sure. The one grant was a multimodal grant. They awarded those in January. The township did not receive an award. The other grant application was a LSA grant. Those are expected in the fall of the year. Last year they awarded those in December. So we'll have an idea, probably late September on is when we'll hear about those.
Okay. The second question is on the property. Do we check it out for the high winds? Because a lot of people got a lot of trees down, a lot of roofs been ripped off. Has anybody checked that? Because some of that property wasn't in good shape.
I haven't been over there, Ed.
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Ed's gone as well.
Okay.
I thought about, everywhere has,
Oh, yeah.
all right?
I know the roof on the one building is pretty weak.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ed's not here.
Okay. No problem.
Good point. Next up, we have Daniel Cox.
Defer to Jen if you have one.
No, go ahead. Unless you don't, go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. Good evening, Supervisors. My name is Daniel Cox. I'm a resident of Lancaster Township since 2008. Good evening also to the residents and support personnel for the township. Over the years, I've had the opportunity through friends and also working with the township to contribute to the comprehensive plan work that was began in 2019 and then refreshed later. And it's given me the opportunity to understand a lot of what's going on in the township, as well as growing up in Jackson Township. But tonight, I'd like to talk a little bit about the topic of emergency management. My background, from a volunteer standpoint, I've been serving in public safety in this region since 1998. Began in Jackson Township with the Jackson Township Emergency Management Agency, serving the last couple of years as coordinator when I came through actually in 2004-2005 timeframe. Since then, I've also served for 20 years in the fire service as well on the public safety side. So in recent years, through some of my work, which my day job is essentially in technology and network engineering, I've had the opportunity to provide service to the community that I've been serving in here, mostly in the Conquenessing area, where I live very close to the fire company. So I've served there in the capacity of firefighter, emergency medical services, among some administrative roles. So I wanted to bring up the topic of emergency management tonight because as I served in that community, I was asked to re-engage in emergency management in Conquenessing Borough back in 2016. And at that time, I also got a request from Conquest Township and Evans City Borough, who also had a vacancy for an emergency management coordinator, and they were looking for some help along those lines. At the time, as this would be a volunteer role, and I had a day job among other responsibilities, I mentioned to Conquest and Borough that we could get started there, and that the other municipalities, we could get to that, but we would need to structure it in such a way that it's scalable, that we can make sure we can cover the needs of all those responsibilities and so forth of those municipalities, and make sure that all the interests of the municipalities and the community were covered. So over the course of about 2 years, we worked on developing what is now known as the Conquest Valley Regional Emergency Management Agency, that was formed in the fall of 2018, that brought together the municipalities of Conquest Borough, Conquest Township, and Evans City through an intergovernmental agreement to manage the responsibilities of emergency management for those municipalities. We did so in such a way that as a volunteer organization, we didn't want to have a lot of financial impact to the community, but we wanted to make sure that those services were provided to the community. So we organized under the premise of a volunteer agency where we would have a coordinator, 5 deputies, and any other volunteer staff that would like to serve as a specialist in the agency to serve emergency management for the community. We organized through having an elected official from each of the member municipalities serve on an executive committee that oversees the financial and policy oversight of the agency, allowing the coordinator and deputies to focus on planning and other responsibilities. This has worked very well for us, and we have structured it in such a way where we can expand to helping other municipalities out, which is why I'm here tonight. As a resident of Lancaster Township, I have seen over the years, being involved in Jackson Township in the early 2000s, how this area has taken on the challenge of emergency management. After I left in 2005 for Jackson Township, I think the police chief had it for a while, and then the Zillington Harmony area EMA had been working with Lancaster as well and took Jackson back in. And there's been different approaches to it over the years. The Kavasiks I worked with closely in the Scouts. I was doing this, and they were working on the Seneca area EMA that they developed to try and approach that. With Mr. Kavasik being involved in the fire service and other commitments, that was a challenge. They've had other folks come into those roles, and I know most recently Ms. Forsyth has joined as coordinator through her past role in an effort of intergovernmental cooperation with the Council of Governments. So what I'd like to offer the community here is an option to work with the Conquest Valley Regional EMA to meet those requirements, and would be very interested in helping you out however you can. I understand there's different approaches to emergency management. The way we function from a financial standpoint is we don't budget necessarily for capital expenditures on a large case every year, because we like to get grants and other funding for that. But we do have an operational budget that for 2026 was $4,200, and that's mostly insurance, but it breaks out into basically supporting training efforts and certification efforts for our staff, and that is divided among our municipalities on a per capita basis. In the example of 2026, if this township were involved in that, their portion would be $1,239.38. I understand the budget this year for emergency management is $15,200, I believe. So I'd be able to certainly help along those efforts as well. So I'm glad to take any questions you might have. I also have a copy of our agreement that I'll leave with you as well as my contact information.
Thank you. Bonnie, this is your area of expertise. I hate to put you on the spot, but we, as Lancaster Township, are involved in the COG. And through that, we have an EMS coordinator.
Correct. So I'm actually your emergency management coordinator right now. And through the fire district, that may change. However, I know that the Seneca Valley Emergency Management Agency exists independent of the municipalities, and there is discussion about reviving it, getting municipalities to contribute again to it. There's a significant amount of funding there in place for the municipalities that belong to it, so there's no lack of funds to support the municipalities here.
Now, one of the things that came up in the past is having backup.
Yes, a deputy in each municipality.
So, not to get off track here, but what I would suggest is that you talk to Bonnie about if this could work as a backup. Am I offline there?
We can always have discussion.
Yeah, I understand that through the sanitary EMA, the 4 municipalities that participated were on, if I remember right, it's 70 cents per dollar per capita every year. That was
It's about right.
Yeah, and then that went into a fund that they would use for rainy day or other equipment and so forth. So just a different approach to things, and I'm willing to help out however I can. I'll leave a copy of the agreement, sample ordinance, and my contact information with you tonight.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Connie Dunlop.
Good evening. I only have comments here regarding Page Place this evening. I want to just give you a brief history, just a reminder. That when Mr. Wrigley purchased this property, it was 36.44 acres. And then in 2000, he sold 1 acre off of the log cabin inn where they expanded their parking lot. So that would take it down to 35.44 acres. Now, on their submission of their application to the Board of Supervisors in March of 25, challenging the ordinances, it was referencing 35.44. But in 12 of 24, their application for the subdivision and land development referenced 59 acres, as do all their drawings. So where did the extra 3.15 acres come from? This is, maybe these guys can answer here. The retention detention ponds, how close are those to the neighboring properties?
I don't have a dimension on it.
Okay.
More than 100 feet.
Okay, because I'd say it should be at least 300 yards minimum. Has anyone from the Board of Supervisors, Planning Commission, or Township Engineer during this development approval process physically gone to the site to verify what the developer has submitted on their drawings, matches what's on there, what's currently on the neighboring properties? Okay, and may I ask why no one has been out to re-verify?
I was down there when Old Dominion was going to put in, but that was 2 years ago.
Okay. Okay, somebody should actually go physically verify that, because I can give you 2 specific incidences where developers, including the same developer, had stuff incorrect on the Orange Woods application from the early 90s. Has anyone from the Board of Supervisors verified, if I'm calling the right company out, but the WBCA, that the facility can handle this extra development on top of what is already being done and in the pipeline for the surrounding areas? Because was a couple years ago, like 2 years straight, they were constantly coming in saying, we don't have capacity, we don't have capacity, we don't have capacity. So do you know if anybody's actually went and spoke with them and verified this?
They've done a pretty comprehensive study. Tom, I'm going to defer to you. I mean,
Yeah, the developer should have, potentially can present the fact that they have a WBCA will serve letter from them.
Okay, but has anybody talked to the WBCA directly instead of just relying on a developer?
We get a letter on WBCA letterhead,
You get a letter from the WBCA?
or their engineer, yes, it's often.
Okay.
it's in here somewhere.
Okay. Has the Board of Supervisors determined a plan of action or repercussions for the developer for not following the rules or causing damages to the neighboring properties? You know, because this is the same developer that did Orange Woods, and there's issues over there. Is that in the plan? Has the plan been discussed?
This plan is preliminary.
Correct, yeah.
I'm not talking the development plan, okay? Just so you
saying
understand.
This plan is preliminary.
Okay.
Tom?
Correct. I mean, once we get to the final phase and the final plans are submitted, there will be a developer's agreement. That developer's agreement will then spell out all the requirements.
Okay, so
So
was
that's
there any,
not-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's not part of the preliminary plan process. It would be part of the final.
No,
plan
I understand that. I didn't know if you were coming up with a high-level plan and then just tweaking it per each development or whatever goes along. Is that, you know, it's something to be considered of. You never know. And one last final thing. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Article 1, Section 27. The people have a right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's public natural resources are the common property of all the people, including the generations yet to come. As a trustee of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people. Just something to think about with everything that's happening in the area.
Thank you, Connie. Next on the list is Kristen Spilarski.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Skolarski at 208
Hey,
Salt.
can you use that mic?
Oh, sorry. Is that better? Kristen Skolarski at 208 Saltworks. I'm here as a highway engineer. I'm a sub-consultant to PennDOT, so I do a lot of traffic studies and safety studies throughout the Pennsylvania region. And I have some concerns along the 19 corridor, especially with the growing number of communities that are being put in. So I guess my question here today is just, are we looking at 19 and what traffic it can actually handle based on these developments that are going in?
First of all, I would say that's a state road.
Correct. Yeah, they're required to get an HOP from PennDOT. As part of that, PennDOT and the developer perform a traffic study, and then PennDOT determines what requirements are required for them to put this particular plan in. So.
We're working with PennDOT as we're planning these communities. So I just want to make sure that we're being strategic and thinking about the amount of homes that are going in. 3 of the crest curves between Huffnagle and north of the log cabin all meet either a 30-mile-an-hour design speed. So if you're traveling more than 30 miles per hour, you do not have enough sight distance to stop. And I think that kind of shows in the planning study with all the crash history that's out there and numerous fatalities. And I guess just being intentional about where I know like the HOP is submitted for the Wrigley development. It does meet sight distance, but I also have to think about if you're slowing down, coming down that hill going south, you know, if you're that vehicle slowing down to allow that person to come out of that side road, there's not enough sight distance there. So I guess I just want to make sure that we're also communicating this to PennDOT.
Everything's communicated with PennDOT.
Correct. Yeah, they're the ones that are issuing that. They're the ones that basically are controlling that process.
Yeah, go ahead. So what is your background again?
Highway engineer.
For
I'm a
private company or?
private company.
Okay. And when you said the sight distance wasn't enough, is that a sight distance not enough at 30 miles an hour or not at 50, the current 50?
Well, it depends on the curve. So the Huffnagle, the curve of the Huffnagle, and then the curve between the Wrigley development and Log Cabin both meet 30.
Okay.
The one just north of Log Cabin barely meets a 50. Or I'm sorry, 45.
I know it changes right there at the log cabin.
It
Yeah.
does.
So.
Yeah.
Now, Tommy, sorry.
Go ahead.
Can, when PennDOT issues their HOP, do they, I'm assuming they consider the current speed limits, or do
Correct.
they?
They do, and then we asked them to revisit that as well, so.
Okay, so is there a conflict? And I'm just asking, because you're saying the site distance for 30 miles an hour is, how does PennDOT do that?
Yeah, we
We're not
don't have the
involved.
HOP yet for the development.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But if there's a speed issue, again, they will control that speed, they would reduce that speed to potentially 45 is what I would expect.
Okay.
Again, those are the unknowns until we actually get the permit to see what it is.
And I'm in favor of reducing that speed. I mean, it's pretty fast coming down. that hill.
It is.
I think that's too fast for that area.
So the curves too, I mean, based on the design speed and the road type, we shouldn't be exceeding 5%. And all three curves through there are 8% or greater, so, you know, it's causing people to speed even beyond what the posted speed limits are too. So I don't know if additional signing, warning signs might be beneficial. And I guess just as a resident too of Saltworks, it's already hard to pull out of our road, and with the limited sight distance and, you know, more units going in, it's definitely a concern, I think, as a resident trying to safely leave the community. Yeah, all I have, so thank you.
Thank you.
So next on the list, we have Gary Morgan. Well, welcome.
Thank you, welcome. Nice weather. A couple things, the water in Pine Valley is now corrected. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
The water seems to be corrected. I know you still have a thing where you can't do any modifications to buildings until you get it clear from DEP, is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Jones Estate cannot put anything into the court till you get it clear from the DEP, is that correct?
Tom?
That's
So
what was
they-
said here last month.
Yeah, they cannot put any more pads in until they get approval from the township. And that would require both DEP approvals and township approval. But again, that is more so, I guess the teeth to that has more jurisdiction with the township than it does with DEP at this point.
Okay, let me ask you another stupid question. You seem to be the only one here who knows what's going on. They're putting for sale signs on mobile homes that cannot be sold. Is this a cover-up, or what's going on here? Why would you put a sale sign on a trailer that the roof leaks? And they know it. They've been told. We got one that's falling down, they put a for sale sign on. What's going on here?
That I don't know how they work, and again, the township doesn't really have jurisdiction over that.
I think the township needs to stand up a little bit, find out what's going on with these companies that's coming into your territory and trying to do things.
Sir, we have stood up a little bit and tried to get residents water that didn't have water.
Water's
I
good.
understand what you're saying, but there's only so much.
There's also another complaint, Mr. Cop. How come you never come to a court anymore? We do not see policemen in our court anymore. Is there a reason for that? Did we do something to offend you?
No.
I can tell you that I drive through there every shift that I do with these pumps.
It's gotta be at midnight, because I don't see you.
Well, I'm daylight only, sir.
Okay, we need to see a little more presence.
Well,
And you're not the only one.
Sir, can I add this?
Jackson Township doesn't do it either.
As we grow, here's a problem. We have 5 officers full-time, right? These guys are working 12-hour shifts, essentially one police officer. If there's a DUI, what does that consume? The entire day.
If you're doing DUI,
I'm not saying yes to do it
I'm
every
not,
day.
sir,
I'm just saying we need to see the residents.
I'm just trying to answer your question. Look, I live on Wrightstown Road. It's 4 miles, it's one of the longest roads in Butler, or in Lancaster Township, right? A lot of people drive from Cranberry to Butler. I understand exactly what you're saying. I understand your concern. What happens when you have a deceased individual?
we have to sit with a family and individual until that person's picked up.
I'm
So
not
here's
saying-
where I'm going with that. We're revisiting how we staff the police department. they have limited time and they can only do so much.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do your job, okay? That's what it sounds like you're trying to tell me here. You should do your job. We need to see some presence. That's all I'm gonna say to you. You figure out how you're gonna do that. It doesn't have to be every day, but it should be at least once a week. I should be able to see a police got up through it. And I'm not seeing that.
We're working to address that. Sir.
I think there's one other thing. It's probably not important. I'm still trying to figure out what that last lady said. I have no idea what she's talking about. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go sit down now. You don't want to hear anymore.
All right, next up we have Darla Sapienza.
I'm Joella Baker. I've been a resident since 1965. How about that? Thanks to Denny Curry, we cleaned it up, but that's not why I'm here tonight. I was out the last 2 Wednesdays when the fall was really, really bad. I almost hit a telephone pole. And I know Darla Hampshire almost ran into someone's house. My son told me some townships or municipalities have reflective strips around the telephone poles. I'm just putting in a suggestion. Maybe we could, I don't know what budget it would come out of, but it would help on even a night like tonight, you know, in the snow. So you could just put that in the minutes that, you know, someone recommended, maybe we could do that in the future.
I believe didn't we have reflective strips? At least I know the poles on Scott.
We don't have them on Scott Ridge. When I went home, I was trying to watch the telephone poles in the mailboxes. And I went around the bend from Darla Hampshire's to where Skinny Thomas's used to be. That's where I went off the road. There was nothing that I could, you know, judge where I was. And I drive that road every day.
So that's something we probably could do relatively inexpensively, but Tom, that falls on utilities.
Yeah, I would reach out to the utility companies to see if they could do something.
There's probably other roads too that would need it. I didn't know if that was township or what. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darla. All right, that completes public comment, so we'll move on through the agenda to administrative business. We have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 16th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We also have a motion to approve the bills to be paid from February 6th to March the 6th, totaling $95,825.10.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills to be paid.
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Motion to approve zoning officer consulting agreement.
I'll make that motion. Go ahead.
No?
Okay, I will make that motion.
I have a question.
I'll second
Yeah,
that.
I'll second it.
I'll second. Now let's consult.
I don't know that I've seen the one draft.
And in all honesty, it probably came while we're sitting here. If I'm not mistaken. Michelle might be able
The
to speak
final
to that.
draft came in literally just a few minutes to 6. So I had actually suggested if we wanted to do motion to approve zoning officers consulting agreement subject to final BOS review and approval if you choose. We've gone down my office and Mr. Owen have gone back and forth. We believe that everything is satisfactory to everyone, but if you want to take a look at that, feel free to add that language to the motion subject to final review of the solicitor and board of supervisors, and then you guys can take a look tomorrow, and if everything's good.
I'll make a motion to amend the original motion that we approve it contingent on the board of supervisors reviewing the final agreement.
I'll second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion. I just want to add a little more color. I know we've already approved it, but look, we've been without a zoning officer, floodplain officer for roughly 45 days now. So our thought was to bring in an interim who has experience. We vetted him. He has a lot of experience. He comes highly recommended. But in the same token, we wanna evaluate, do we need somebody that's a resident, that's temporary, part-time? Do we need a full-time person? Or do we continue with this consultant? So we really wanna leave it up to our new manager to evaluate it and tie out with the Board of Supervisors to what direction we wanna go moving forward. But we certainly need somebody in there. So,
Can I comment?
sure.
It's, the way the agreement is written, at least the drafts that I've seen, is we are not making a long-term commitment. We're kind of going month to month, so as we evaluate the body, determine the best path forward, we have an option to do that. So,
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the agenda, new business. Move to approve resolution 2026-08, providing auditor's compensation.
I'll make that motion.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Motion to approve planting 4 trees near benches in Fort Springs Park. Price is not to exceed $1,000.
I'll make that, I think I.
In total, in total.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion, but I'd like to comment. When did that?
Now,
Now, who chose the autumn blaze red maples?
on the Parks Committee.
Was that you, Sally? I'm calling you out.
It was the Parks Committee intern.
They're beautiful trees. I did look them up with Gabby, and you guys really chose it. It's a fast-growing maple. It grows 4 or 5 feet a year. Gets to be about 60 feet tall, about 40 feet broad, wide. I think it's a perfect addition to the park. So,
All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Move to approve the use of Forest Springs Park for the purpose of a 5K polo run and Easter egg hunt, which will be on Saturday, April the 4th of 2026. This is being organized by Joella Baker, who is a resident. She is affiliated or the owner of Fit Families. We will charge her a fee, if you will, same as we would charge for the use of the park.
I make a motion to approve the use of Forest Springs Park for a 5K.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to the agenda. Motion to approve moving forward to weekly payment schedule for township bills and expenses.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
A little comment on
I
that?
was gonna ask for some
So,
discussion.
and look, Bonnie, you tell, we talked about this. Can you give me your reasoning?
Yeah, so in particularly reviewing 2025 actuals, I was coming across a lot of late fees. And I believe that's because we were only paying bills once a month. So by doing it weekly, it will still follow the same approval process. It will just be more often, so we can eliminate some of those unnecessary fees.
Thank you.
So
You can take that 1% also, you know what I mean, you pay within 10 days.
Yep.
Instead of paying late fees, you get the money back.
there was a redundancy. We would sit at this meeting and approve, and then after this meeting, the next day, we would all approve, right? And now it's like paying weekly, to your point. We're not being late, and maybe we can take advantage of the discount.
And I will add to that, there was almost a 6-week lag time because of a
Correct.
cutoff that we had to have in order to produce the bills. And then once so it caused, our customers sort of like, yeah, right. So this will help expedite the billing process.
One more question. So our approval process is we go through bills.
Let's stay the same.
They'll stay the same.
That will remain the same. So there will be at least 3 people.
Great idea.
Yeah, thanks, Don.
Thank you, Bonnie. Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion carries unanimously. Next item, motion to appoint Jerry Stevenson to a 4-year term on the Lancaster Township's Park Committee.
I make a motion to appoint Jerry to Parks Committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Motion to approve the purchase of police laptops and software.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right, discussion, a little comment, a little color behind it. So we had budgeted for 2026 $11,000. And the price is coming in as actual $6,525. This includes 4 desktops, a laptop, all the software setup and configuration.
Correct.
And Mike, tell us where we're at versus the real world 20.
So basically, the desktops were all 11 to 12 years old. 2 of them are not working. These desktops download everything into the cars as it comes in, like all your video cameras, everything like that. So the officer pulls in close enough, the Wi-Fi hooks in, ties everything together, and hooks it all up. And downloads on our computer. Not only that, everything is going to be tied into Windows 11, and we only have Windows 10, and the capability of the existing computers is currently Windows 10, so we have to upgrade. The cars themselves are still good, that's why we didn't have to spend the full amount. So we're only doing the office, and like I said, we have, as far as our IT company, they're the ones that install it, we have a contract with them, we have everything, they maintain everything, so they're gonna come in and, switch everything out and do everything, so that's all included in there, plus getting everything up to date, including the cars. Because the cars themselves are only Windows 10, we're gonna move them to Windows 11 also, so everything will be tied together.
How are they disposing of the old computer guys take care of that?
Yeah, the computer guys take everything. The computer guys only work with municipalities, and they only work with police departments, municipalities that have all their clearances through the FBI and all that. So that's one of the reasons why we use who we use. So they will handle everything on that.
Do we get some kind of receipt for the disposal on those?
Do we?
Yes, I'm just wondering.
I mean, I don't know that we will or won't. They properly, they do
Okay.
everything right there, but like I said, they handle everything, and we have to all, when we get audited every year from the FBI, we have to show all their clearances and everything like that, so.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 6, planning, land use, and zoning. Motion to approve the Page Place residential development on 400 Perry Island. We have an audience here, and I'm not sure if you guys were here to present.
You can present, if that's what you want.
Well,
Do you need that? I mean,
I don't
this is
think
a
we-
preliminary plan. Something changed?
Nothing has changed from this.
Oh, I think we're gonna have questions.
All right.
We need to take a vote in a second and discuss.
So what, we make a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve Page Place, contingent on the questions.
I'll second that motion. Discussion.
Sure, good evening, everyone. Ed Moore with Sheffield Company. Whatever questions you might have, we'll be happy to answer.
So my questions, in all honesty, are probably mostly because I haven't been through this process before, and part of it is just learning about this like everybody else in the audience. The first one is in the notes from Tom's group.
Hey, Rich,
Yeah.
you use your microphone.
Yeah. The notes from Tom's group talked about ingress and egress. All ingress and egress should be approved by the township prior to construction. So that's not approved at this point.
Correct. They have a highway occupancy permit that's been submitted. They don't have the actual permit in hand as of yet. I don't think you've
We do
received
not.
that yet.
That's
So
correct.
one of your conditions would be that they have to provide the highway occupancy permit from PennDOT. They originally came in with a plan that had a boulevard style entrance, but then it funneled down into a single lane prior to the first intersection. The planning commission reviewed that and recommended that that be taken off just because it didn't really add a benefit. And we weren't sure that PennDOT would approve it. So ultimately, at the end of the day, PennDOT's gonna give a approval for an HOP, and we'll have stipulations, turning lanes, whatever the case might be, at which point it'll be on the final plan and you'll see it. That's ultimately has to come to you as well. So.
Good, thank you. We had discussed at some point back through this process that the back portion of the development, the west side, may be donated back to the township for a future park along Scholars Run. Is that addressed at all at this point in the agreement, or is that something that was on purpose?
I don't recall that being.
The developer's still willing to dedicate that property in the back to the township if the township wants it. I don't think we ever got an indication that it was something the township really wanted, so we didn't pursue it in that matter, but if you desired it, we would dedicate it to the township.
Okay, super. We'll carry on that discussion at some point. Are there sidewalks along the entire development?
Both sides of the street, yes, sir.
And along the 19 corridor?
Parallel with, yes, parallel with 19 as well, yes.
It goes with the streetscape.
Correct. Your specifications, yes.
Perfect, thank you. And again, for my clarification, what are the next steps in the process after the preliminary approval?
So assuming they get preliminary approval, they will then start working on the details for final approval, and then present those plans to the planning commission for review and recommendation. Then the planning commission will make that, present that to you as the Board of Supervisors. With that will be, contingencies of final financial arrangements, developers agreements, and those types of things. So if there's things, and we'll go over these details a little bit more when your questions are satisfied about some of the things that are open, but we can address those during the final plan process.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Yes, sir. Actually, I have a couple questions. One, I know the original plans included units that were limited to 6 units per building, and that latest plan I saw, a majority of them seem to go on to 7.
I think they were always at 7, and Mr. Thompson brought that up at one of the planning commission meetings. That requirement, and I don't want to speak for Tom, but that requirement was a requirement from a different zoning district.
I understand, but the original plan did have, so I mean, I thought it had 6.
Yeah.
6 units.
Well, it's my understanding that we can go up to 7.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay.
I agree. In Tom, originally it was 6, and then it went to 7. It was some of them.
I would have to double check that, but certainly.
Yeah, I mean,
I was supervisor, Bill. I have, we've been doing this for 18 months. I had the original plan, it was 6, some went to 7.
And I understand the zoning that you were following. I think it was we left it out of our ordinance, unfortunately. I guess I just gotta ask why the change? Just because the ordinance allowed it, or?
I don't recall. I always thought it was 7, and the comment was, well, you can't go to 7, you need to go to 6. We looked into it, so I don't know how it went from 7 to 6 or 6 to 7.
Okay.
I really don't.
It went from
6 to 7.
I don't recall
Yeah, it was
how
never
or why.
I'll tell you that for sure.
I just was wondering the logic behind it. I know our ordinances are lacking for the mixed use, unfortunately. It just seems, okay, why did we go from 6 to 7?
Yeah, I don't recall that exactly.
And I'd like, I guess, making did you want to
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For the engineer, one of our residents thought there was some discrepancies in the acreage. Would you be able to address that, or is that not clear to you?
It's clear to me that the acreage is 38.58 acres. I don't know under the original application if that was a typo, but Don,
I think I can address it. The original application was filed with some variance to the zoning hearing board. The question asked about the tax parcel. So we were listing the acreage that was on the tax card, not the acreage for the property. That's for the tax card. And that's why it had what it had on the tax card. Why it had 35 or 34 acres versus 38 on the tax card, I can't answer that.
yeah, 38.58 is the actual surveyed area.
Surveyed area. Okay,
Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, I have one other question. My biggest difficulty with this is safety of future residents. I think it's a phenomenal number of people to put on a single ingress egress road. I don't know what the average number of homes or residents per home, but I'm gonna guess we're gonna be close to 400 people on a single ingress egress. I know we discussed before about a boulevard entrance, but would it be possible to put a boulevard to the first intersection? Is there any issue with that? I mean,
I'm not the traffic engineer, but I think PennDOT may have an issue with a boulevard entrance.
why would PennDOT?
I don't know, I can't speak for PennDOT. Plus, when you look at emergency vehicles turning in and out of there,
Right, yeah.
They would be up and into that median with their turn, so they would get run over all the time.
Okay, I guess I'm not sure about that. I've seen plenty of boulevard style resident neighborhoods that have entrances, the entrance is wide.
Yeah, that's the other hindrance, is we
Right.
can't make it wider because the layout of the current units.
Well, I meant just at the entrance.
Yeah, it's just a tighter space with all the setbacks.
Can you show me on there? Sure. So I can see.
Go ahead and use
Well,
that easel.
yeah, you can use that easel.
So it's difficult to do something like this because of the space, and then with the trucks turning in and out, I don't know how wide it would have to be, but it would have to be considerably a lot wider. Because of the grades and the elevation change, grades and things like that, so that's part of the reason why.
Why would you think PennDOT would allow it?
Because in talking with the traffic engineer, he indicated that at one point, he would have to run that past PennDOT to see if that was acceptable or not. And at the last meeting, it was taken off the table before we even got there.
Yeah, that was just the entry.
Right.
That wasn't all the way down. I'm just wondering, I'm thinking of safety purposes. All these people are traveling one road. Literally. That's what, 400 people roughly?
Units times X.
That's three.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, 3 or more.
There's limitations now.
Is that something we can investigate, or, I mean, I just for safety?
So this is preliminary. This is something we can ask PennDOT. Any other questions or comments, sir?
She was saying maybe you can comment on the planning commission, because I think the planning commission, we vetted this, and the conclusion from the planning commission is it should not be able. I feel like I'm kind of in a buzz, so I.
No, that's okay. They are an advisory. We make
The reason
call.
that we had originally asked them to do that, and they put one in.
Please.
There were a couple issues that came up. It did not go to the first intersection. They weren't able to really do that with their traffic and large vehicles moving around. The second reason was we got word from the maintenance, the road crew, that they don't like plowing around those boulevards, especially on Route 19. It involves a lot more snow removal, a lot more pivoting with their trucks.
Right.
So they preferred not to have it. They said that was more of a safety issue for them than having it in there. And so because of those reasons and the fact that PennDOT we weren't even sure if they were going to allow it and what that might do to change that whole entrance, we decided it best to take it out. We would rather have it in. It's not an ordinance right now. We can't require it. They worked with us, I think, the best they could, and we all agreed it was in the best interest to take it.
Right, the original thing was just a highway, it wasn't a boulevard down to the first intersection, correct?
That was a big factor.
Okay, so had it been all the way down to the first intersection, it would be something planning consider. If I'm not mistaken, it was even suggested to make it all the way to the first intersection, and for whatever reason, it was backed off. And I did talk to our roadmaster, he said, yes, it is more inconvenient, he said he might have to take 2 passes, but for, a dozen days a year, out of 365, is that worth, skimping on safety for our township residents, future residents?
Well, had the boulevard went all the way to the first intersection, I think we were all, that was really the intent of it.
Okay.
If that didn't happen, the rest of it just seemed like it wasn't really gonna do what we wanted it to do.
Right, and I think Ed did mention, our roadmaster mentioned that what it has to do, similar to what's at the plantations, there's islands in the middle, it's an inconvenience when he plows it now, he says he has to come back a second time. So again, safety versus, a dozen days out of the year, I don't think I'm not saying, we're still not over the PennDOT, bump there, but I just think for, just the number of people in a single ingress egress, I just personally have an issue with it.
So I'll go back to, this is preliminary. These are things we can ask for.
I have a different viewpoint, Mike. To maybe, do most of the surrounding townships require boulevard entrance or 2 points of ingress egress?
A lot of townships don't require that. They just have in their ordinances, you're allowed to put a road in. They don't get into the details. Some are starting to add it because of safety concerns, but a lot of them don't have any requirements for a second entrance.
Is it a hard stop when you open 6 for most townships?
They require it based on how many homes, how many buildings are in it, tells you how many entrances you need to have. So yes,
And
it
Rich,
is
I might add that our own ordinances have, for our village district, a maximum of 20 homes on a single ingress egress. So we already have this in our existing ordinances for a different zoning district. So it's been there for a while. So, I mean, it's not something new to us, and it's definitely not new to other localities.
It's something we'll have to worry about.
Can I make a motion to amend this approval? At this point in time, preliminary approval to add that we consider boulevard style to the.
Yeah, because this is preliminary.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, and this is the time to do it if we're gonna do it. So I'd like to make a
I
motion.
think Tom has some things to
Yeah,
go through.
before
Oh,
you
I'm
get
sorry,
into
Tom.
that, we
Go
may
ahead,
have
go ahead.
some additional items. One is the snowshoe. Your ordinance requires a snowshoe. They originally had a snowshoe provided. The planning commission had recommended that snowshoe be removed. The road foreman, and I guess my recommendation was to include a snowshoe. And the purpose of that is if you get a large snow like we've had, you may need to push snow somewhere. And I guess what I would recommend is you add a 20 by 20 snowshoe in the same location they had it before. So, and again, maybe it's an asphalt pad that somebody can park on or play on most of the year. But again, during a heavy snowstorm, it's a precaution that you can have something just to dump snow.
Would one be sufficient? Or should we get?
I think one in this case would be sufficient.
In the previous location?
Right.
Okay.
The second item is a safety fence, and again, is required around the stormwater facilities. It's not a requirement, it's up to the supervisors. In this location, I don't know that we recommend a fence be provided. You can say you want one, or you can say you don't want one, but in the way the ordinance is written, it's the option of whether you want to have essentially a fence around the stormwater facilities. It all grades down to Scholars Run, so to me, you probably don't want one. I don't think you need one. It's not in the middle of the plan, but that's just something, if you wanted to consider, you can make that a condition as well.
Where's that at?
So why wouldn't you want to have?
The old adage,
Dave?
The
Go
planning
ahead.
commission talked about it. It's in a very remote location currently. It's dry 99% of the time. It doesn't really retain water except during a major storm. So putting a fence around a dry, retention basin didn't really seem to be worthwhile. And again, if it was closer to, the residences where it becomes an attractive nuisance to a degree. And a lot of the homes perched up on that hill will have access to see it. And if there's somebody down there it shouldn't be, you've got a lot of people that can tell them to leave.
So Tom, what you're saying is our ordinances, we have to decide whether we want it or not.
it gives you
We have
the
to
option
physically-
if you want to have it or not.
So-
You don't have to have it, it's
Right.
just the option.
Okay.
So can I ask this question? How big of a retention pond are we talking about?
They're right there. I used to do pictures of them.
Two of them on the
Deep.
side.
Acre deep. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's a good question. How
Acre
deep?
or deep? 'Cause I
Yeah,
think
how deep
is
are
the
they?
reason for the fence.
No, I disagree. I mean, I would say, they can drown in 2 foot of water, right? Versus 20 foot of water.
It shouldn't be 2 feet of water.
Well, I'm just saying, you said big or deep. I want you to define it. Big, length, width. I don't care if it's 2 foot or 20 foot. Okay?
Was there an answer to that? I didn't get the answer.
What was the question?
What is the size
What is the
dimensions? What are the dimensions in
dimensions of
depth?
You know those dimensions, right?
They are
both 6 foot deep and 11,000 square foot bottom area.
Where's the riser?
Was that?
Is the riser on those at the base?
Yes. Yeah, and they're on the, I guess, on this plan view.
I can see the one riser. I can't put up to. That's the riser.
There'll be outlet structures in here, and then emergency spillway, it's not shown on this plan.
What height of the emergency spillway? 6 feet?
Emergency spillways, they're 2 foot deep. So from the top of the pond bank and 3 of them down is the crest of the spillway, so 2 foot.
So 2 foot above the
No.
riser, 2 foot below the riser.
No, so the emergency spillway.
Yeah.
The
I'm trying to get how, what's the, when I think the spillway is actually how deep.
You talking about the principal spillway or the emergency spillway?
The emergency spillway.
The emergency spillway? Hopefully that's never accurate.
I understand.
It would be half a foot above the top of the principal structure.
Which is.
For basin 2, which is the right one up there, the top of the outlet structure is 978, and the emergency spillway for this one is 978 and 625.
So we're talking 11 feet. 11 feet deep. Yeah. Okay. I understand the aesthetics, but safety. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else, Tom? Okay. Can I make a motion to amend the original motion, or did you want to add something?
No, I don't want to add anything. You can just do the motion to approve subject to the conditions laid out by the engineer's report and your request for them to.
So how do we memorialize everything you just discussed?
Well, how about just motion to, approve the Page Place residential, subject to the, items laid out in Mr. Thompson's letter dated, I assume it's laid out in something,
February 10th letter.
his February 10th letter, and also to address Supervisor Dovan's, request in regard to the entrance.
Okay. Want to make that motion? So I'd like to, I guess I still amendment to the original motion, but I will say, make the or modify the motion to approve Page Place contingent on meeting the requirements of Mechanic Fleming's letter dated 2/10/26, in which we discussed replacing the snowshoe, the 20 by 20 snowshoe, and which was removed, and having safety fence around both stormwater retention facilities. And I guess do we have to specify the size of this fence? Okay.
It's in your stormwater ordinance.
Okay, to match the stormwater ordinance, and to add a boulevard from the entrance to make any modifications to add a boulevard to the entrance to the first intersection.
Are you requiring that boulevard entrance at this point based on what? I thought you were just.
Well, I'm requesting it. So that's why I wanted to make. Well, no, that's why I wanted to make an amendment, and then we needed a second to add it, so that was kind of my process.
As long as I just wasn't sure that you were all.
No, I'm not sure either, that's why I wanted to amend it.
So it's contingent.
Contingent, but it still needs, somebody has to second the amendment. Well, somebody has to second the amendment.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on. Building, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Building permits. The number of building permits issued in February 2026 was 6. Year to date, that takes it to 8. Moving on to the reports. Attorney's report. Michelle, anything to add?
Nothing to add to my report, thank you.
All right, moving on to, excuse me. We're not done. Moving on to the supervisor report.
Okay, yeah, I'll start out. As we talked earlier, been coordinating, getting our zoning officer consultant on board. Pretty much turned that over to Bonnie now at this point. Also spent some time with our roadmaster. Spent a few hours going out on the roads in our township. We definitely have some bad roads. And learned a lot about road maintenance, different possibilities. In our next Board of Supervisors workshop, it's going to be one of the topics of discussion. So we're going to try to go over, possibly our 5-year plan. We're going to go over some of the worst roads, and actually some of the roads that we're going to consider may not be the worst roads, but this might be the time to treat them so they don't become worse. So if you want to come to the workshop, discuss that. Our roadmaster and myself are going to make a presentation. We discussed also grant applications. We're trying to actually engage a multimodal grant. I reached out to our state representative, been communicating with him to try to get some support. It's an interesting process. I didn't know it was involved in trying to apply for grants. It's not just, you don't just write a letter. Let's see. I also prepared a draft data center ordinance, which I coordinated with Dave Carlson and turned over to Matt Lautz, who actually is energy. What is his title? He does energy for data centers.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, he definitely has some data center background, and basically I turned it over to him at this point. He's got it going on, so hopefully planning commission can take it from here. Talk about the next, the website revision. We're working on some website stuff, but finally got Debbie access to the calendars for the Reserve Community Center. So now that should be up to date. Debbie, you still able to access it as of today? Okay, thanks. And thanks for doing it. Thanks for taking care of it. Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Rich?
Same thing, getting Bonnie up to speed, meeting with the police, discussing ordinances, following through on our March 9th organizational meeting. It's just a lot to take care of. And it seems as if every day there's a project here.
Thank you, Rich. So I spent the whole month of February going into the office as like the interim township manager.
You're retired now.
I thought I was. That's why I had time to do this. But again, for me, it was a valuable experience. Why do I say that? I got to know the employees a little better, and I got to realize what great employees we do have, and we truly do. I'm talking about the public works guys. Those guys, if they come out at 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll knock off at noon and not charge us overtime, right? The office staff, Shirley, Barb, they're the face of Lancaster Township, and they do a tremendous job. Our police department, I mentioned this earlier, there's only 5 or 6 of them. Tremendous people. So for me, it was a valuable experience. I think I calculated I made 74 cents an hour for every hour I was in, but it was a great experience. Spent a lot of time doing the annual audit with Mayor Dussel. They were in the office 3 or 4 days, a lot of questions. Met with Corey from PennDOT, going through liquid fuels, reviewing what we did do in 2025 and what the outlook for 2026 is. I met with Lance Welliver from Butler County. He's the director of Butler County Parks and Recreation. He brought up a lot of good ideas on monies, and I know, Debbie, you know this. He's got a lot of good ideas on what monies are out there for grants. And about a week later, I did meet with the Parks Committee on March 3rd on what ideas those grants could cover, right? Hypothetically, put restrooms up there versus porta potties. I know we don't have water, but he's got a lot of good ideas on what we can do with restrooms without water. A pavilion, paving the walkways, things like that. And there's money out there. Some of it you have to match, some of it you don't. But he came up with a lot of good ideas. So that's my report. So I'll move on to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Speaking of township employees, those of you who are believers in our awesome God, I would ask you to keep Barb Mansky in your prayers. She's our treasury secretary, recently appointed, and she's definitely having some issues. And feel really bad for her. I've been in a situation, and it's very painful, and I would just ask to keep her in your prayers. And pray for Bonnie too. We're killing her.
All right, moving on to the manager report. Bonnie, and maybe treasurer report too. Sorry.
Well, I can give you the manager report for sure. I've spent the last 2 weeks doing a lot of listening, talking to all the supervisors, getting their priorities, talking to employees, finding out, they know everything I don't know yet. I've spent some time digging into the recent financials and trying to determine, mostly that we need to expand our budget, not monetarily, just how we record things. I'm also looking at, you know, I was driven around the township as well to see some of the fun roads. Wished I had a 6-point harness on a couple of them. I'm also looking at, I was able to tour the new property and the park just to get an idea of what's there so that I know firsthand. I haven't come to many conclusions about anything, but I can definitely see the potential here. One of the biggest things that I think you all might be interested in is I also attended, there's a multi-municipal cooperation group and the COG meeting, and both of these meetings are quite a few municipalities. The multi-municipal group goes down to Cranberry, over to Forward, is maybe 8 or so municipalities all talking together. The COG is obviously 5 official municipalities right now working together. And I want to say that this is such a unique situation in Butler County. It doesn't happen. In fact, the COG here is being used as an example to expand into the eastern part of the county, the southeastern portion. So one thing I will say is that Lancaster is set up for success because it is part of this intermunicipal cooperation. So if things don't move forward to everyone's advantage, it will be not because this area didn't try. But as part of the COG, there's a lot of opportunity for, you know, working with other municipalities, utilizing equipment, utilizing manpower, doing intermunicipal grant submissions, because I will give you an example, the fire department built a beautiful new fire hall, and one of the reasons they received all the grant money they received was because of all the municipalities participating. If it had just been 1 or 2, they likely would not have been able to do it. So that is the power of working together. Other than that, I've just been sitting and listening and learning because, like I said when I first came in here, I have a lot to learn, and I'm looking forward to continuing doing that.
Thanks, Melanie.
Yeah.
Thank you. Administrative report, sure.
I don't have anything, I'm just trying to work with Bonnie to get her acclimated to the thing. We had to paint the walls because we had some water damage from the ice dam, so we got that all fixed, and so it was a little bit on top of, somebody did, like, on the building permits, we're getting a lot of solar permits. I will tell you that Trinity Solar is going around selling, solar panels and things. They do have a permit, so I know people wonder about that, but I think there's a young man going around, but yeah, he does have a permit to do that, so that's all I got.
Just Pine Valley that we talked about last month, they are in the process of doing their septic testing, should be scheduled next week, so we should have all their septic approvals to move forward, then we'll eventually get the plan to sign off on, so.
Police report, Mike.
So over the last 12 months, while we've been down on the total number of calls, year to date, we're already up almost 15%. It's increased in everything that I've mentioned before. From medicals, we're already at 41 calls per year. Vehicle accidents, we're at 1,000, with 3 of them being DUI vehicle accidents. Well-being checks are up significantly, along with mental health. So,
The vast majority of your calls are medical first responder.
a lot of them, and like I said, right now we're averaging 6 to 7 calls a day, dealing with this stuff like that, not your everyday traffic stop or anything like that.
Thank you, Mike. Road crew, Ed's not here because he's plowing snow. Bonnie, do you have something?
He did do his. He said there was only one call out for snow. They fixed a grader that had 2 leaking cylinders, some berm work on Crab Run Road. They spent a lot of time working on the equipment and received the last shipment of salt for the season. He said they did have multiple call outs for trees down the past 2 weekends, and I think that includes this current weekend. They did some cold patching throughout the township, and yeah, so that's the past.
I'm sure they were busy with trees.
No. Again,
Zoning, we don't have any representation tonight, unless somebody has something to add.
Can I make a comment on that subject regarding Mr. Govin's comments about the zoning officer consultation effort? I wanted to highlight how important that is to the community because you mentioned specifically floodplain management. And as part of the letter you received from Butler County Emergency Services in the last week, there's a hazard mitigation plan effort that needs to be completed by the county by November.
okay.
And that data is very important to work with the emergency management coordinator.
Okay. What is
to
that?
get
So
that.
We're worried about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a letter about that. That is very important to have that position so you can research that data. So thank you for taking that on.
All right, planning commission, Dave.
Yeah, so, over the past month, we've been working on a new ordinance in the Saldo. It's updating the ordinance for RV parks. There's one in there now, but we're gonna make it a little more stringent, a little more, add some safety features, better define what they can and can't do. Big thing is buffer zones on both sides, so it won't impact the local adjoining properties. Also working on data centers. Mike mentioned that earlier. We had several different drafts, and I'll have to compile and see what we can put together. And then at the same time, we've been trying to do some work on the zoning ordinance because as we make changes to the Saldo, to the PRD, sometimes that impacts the zoning. So we've been adding, as we catch things, we're adding that. We'll have to do a full review. Our ultimate goal is to get all 3 documents in final draft form and make sure everything's compatible so we don't have conflicts. And then we'll probably release those for your review and public meetings and approval. We could do them sequentially rather than concurrently. We're just concerned about the number of conflicts. If the Saldo is approved and updated, but the zoning has not been, we're gonna have a lot of differences there. I think that'll cause us a lot of grief. Doing all at once.
What's the time frame that you guys were aiming for? I know it's a tough target.
Tomorrow.
Well, I can't say I know. It's been taking us a lot longer than we expect. We work 8 hours and 2 4-hour shifts, right? So it doesn't allow us a lot of time, and there's a lot of debate and discussion. We're close to being done with the Saldo. The PRD is not very involved, and I think with a good Saldo, we can roll that into the PRD. So I would give us a month to finish up the Saldo, another month to finish the PRD, probably 2 months for the zoning. So if I can hold that schedule, that adds 4 more months. So we're looking at probably May.
Getting closer.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question of our solicitor? Ms. Solicitor, I know we had this discussion, I think I touched on it with Dave. Does the Saldo drive the zoning ordinance and the PRD, or
You
does it?
can do them standalone. I think as Dave mentioned, I think he's just concerned about consistency. However, I would have no objection to, if you want to move forward on the Saldo and do the public hearing and all that kind of thing to get that moving.
Well, that wasn't,
various reasons, and then make sure as you do the PRD and the zoning that everything is consistent with that Saldo. So planning commission could, when they complete it, send it to the Board of Supervisors for review. You guys take a look, do a motion to advertise for a public hearing, and refer it to the county, and you can at least get moving on the Saldo. Legally, yes, I understand, planning commission's thoughts and plans, but if it is gonna take several more months and it's a huge endeavor they're going through, you could do the Saldo on its own first.
Would the Saldo then have, primacy or, over the other two?
Yes, because you're thinking that there could be conflicts or actual outright.
One says 10
conflicts?
feet, one says 25, right? That's my concern. Who wins? The most recent one?
Well, no, but technically, yes, but we certainly don't want to get into that,
Mhm.
you know, because that probably is a nice invitation to litigation.
That's what
Yeah,
it is.
I would defer to the planning commission. I was just asking what the standard procedure is. Since I know, I mean, I went through this process a long time ago, but I was under the impression that the solvent was the driving force, and then everything else surrounded based on that. But if that's not the case, if there's a chance, like Mr. Carlson said, conflicts, I don't think we want to.
Outright conflicts, right, that's a concern.
Yeah,
If that is true, then I understand what you're doing.
I'll go with the planning commission's recommendation.
Well, that wraps up the agenda. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Please drive careful. Happy